Previously on Two Heads Podcast.
The Bible out, and he had it in front of me, and he was saying, you know, if you tell anyone, you'll go to hell.
It's very hard for me to ask, but do you remember the first time he put his hand on you?
Yeah, he would grab you by the locks and pull you, lift you out of the chair as a child. But the brothers giving me beatings. The Christian brother had a leather strap called Uncle Charlie, and he had a wooden dowel called Auntie Betty. And I felt like we were there for ages. Sometimes, I don't know why, sometimes he'd breathe. I still get it now. I get shivers when I think about it. He'd breathe on the back of your neck and he'd whisper in your ear, you know I love you, you know I love you. But he'd hold you tighter when he'd say that. 20 minutes. He made sure I drank the lemonade and all the sweets. I didn't understand why.
I can't take no loss. I hit the ground and it go off. Yeah, hit the ground and it go off. Yeah, run it. Ooh, I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah. I really feel it's my time, think it's my year. Yeah. I really feel it's my time, think it's my year.
Just took a break. That hit home for me, especially because from the age, having kids at home in the same kind of age, having all little boys, and just listening to it, it brought me to just looking at my own son at the age that he's at, like I was saying to you there a second ago, not even be able to tie his laces, never mind going through what you've been through, you know. That was really deep for me, like, you know, I'm going to be that serious with that. But let's just pick it up from where we are, and I apologise on that, guys.
Don't apologise,
you know?
it's okay.
Yeah. So, where were we? My mind's all over.
Right, so
Candles, crucifixes, and lemonade.
TK lemonade. Yeah. So obviously at that point then, that's where the curtain really drops. And like you said, it was from that point on really was where you could feel it in yourself that
it was wrong.
Something was wrong.
Yeah. I had a fear in me then. I do, because back then it was just all love.
Yeah.
Everything was love.
And everything he had done up until that point was to probably project love on you, so that
it
never got to that. But you were saying as well that, you know, things were becoming a bit more sadistic. He was obviously worried that you were going to turn on him.
Yes.
Yeah.
And at what point did you? So from that story that you've just given us to when the tides changed, kind of.
Okay,
what
there's
happened there?
obviously with everything in life, there's timelines. So that would have been the age of 7 up to 7 September. So that's starting school in, if you want to call it, high babies. Again, I was being generous to him, saying that he got at me 3 times a week minimum, 3 times a week. Sometimes 3 times a day. He had a big appetite. I suppose it came to some kind of a closure. I made me confirmation in the May or June again. That's when it was of 84, when it would have been 12. So I remember being on a break from school, because you would have started first year in the Johns College. So you were major confo. Now you're going on to first year. And I went to the De La Salle. A lot happened at the age of 12 for me. It was quite profound to be a word. So from growing up in a lovely community with great friends and schoolmates to some degree, and love and affection, although we had good times and bad times in the house, my mum and dad were moving house. So in the September or the July, we left school never to go back to that school. August, I was leaving that home never to turn back to those mates, and I was leaving the school to go to a new school. So when I tell you I was isolated and alone, I was isolated and alone. And I got very angry at the age of 12. I lost me shit.
Yeah.
That's when stuff went wrong with Darren. That's when Darren tried to voice his, some people would call it puberty, but I know it wasn't that. I skipped puberty.
Yeah.
I skipped that straight away.
Fast going through.
Yeah, you go up.
Oh yeah.
Our young age.
Puberty for me would have been about fucking 9. Do you get me?
Yeah.
I was well advanced with between things getting shoved up, shoved down, and ins and outs. Yeah, there was no childhood, like.
Yeah.
I didn't have a childhood.
Yeah.
It was a
How
shit
could
show.
you? Do you know?
It's literally taken from you.
How could you? And if you were to look at even what you said there, being in the terms of, say, jealous of somebody else sitting on his lap, that it wasn't you sitting on his lap, it's all you knew.
Yeah.
Like, that to you was basically a relationship, like somebody that you loved.
And it's ironic, even in today's climate with relationships, any partner we could hit me with a baseball bat. They can do anything they want to me, and it can be fixed. But if you rip me off or unfaithful, we're done.
You're done.
Done. Yeah. Not even a discussion, not even a comeback as a friend. You're gone.
Yeah.
And that was instilled at that very young age.
Yeah.
So when I was 12, I remember we were on a break and my dad was working late. And the Esther Ranson show was on, would you believe it? It was a programme on in England. She highlighted a lot of things. I suppose the Mick Pilo show over here in RT would have been the Would You Believe It programmes. So back then, they were talking about paedophiles, predators, abuse. Not so much rape, just the word abuse. And I remember sitting there looking at it, and just the tears, it was like somebody gagged me, and the tears kept coming out of my face, and my ma was engrossed in this. I remember being able to get up off the couch, sneak over, take a cigarette out of our box, light it, and sit there and smoke a cigarette with the tears. And it was only when the tears became too much where the snot started coming, I couldn't breathe. And my ma kept looking at me going, she says, what's going on? And then she looked at the telly and looked at me. She goes, did anything like that ever happen to you before? And I goes, yeah. She goes, you know that's wrong. And I went, no, I don't. Yeah. I says, why are they saying that about these people? And then my ma had to explain to me what was going on, and I lost my shit. I just lost. Then my mum said, your dad be in later on. Me dad, remember, we feared me dad growing up. That was, again, that was his era, that was his time, that was his affliction. He was on substance, so he had no control over himself. So he's a changed man today, and we have a great relationship. But when your mother says, I'm going to tell your dad when he comes in, that was the wrong thing to say.
It was never a good thing to hear that.
No. So although that had been happening to me with the priest, something else was happening in the background. So I used to visit me nanny's house. She lived in Bluebell. And one of our sisters lived there with her husband. And I remember on one of the incidences with the crucifix, when I knew there was something not right, couldn't quite, I mean, you know, to even think about it now, it's mad. You know, I think there's something wrong with somebody sticking a crucifix up my arse. That even sounds weird.
Yeah.
But I literally couldn't comprehend, was it right or wrong, or...
Sure, hardly developed at that age. How would you know right from
wrong? And I spoke to my mum's, he would have been the brother-in-law at the time, about it. And he brought me for a walk, got me some sweets. We ended up down on a canal. He asked me to show him, not tell him, show him what the priest was doing. And sure, because I didn't think there was anything wrong with it, I done exactly what the priest was doing to me and showed him what the priest was doing to me. And he kept saying, I don't understand. And he got me to use his hands as well. So I was being abused by him also from about the age of 8 up to 12 as well. So on that night, both revelations came out. So when the fear of, I mean, you didn't rat a priest out. No. And I'd gone too far to rat him out. I had to change it because, I mean, you know, I didn't fancy born in hell for all eternity and shitting forever. That fear was in. So when my dad came in that night, he worked as a bus conductor for CIE. I remember letting on to be asleep on the couch and huddling myself in the corner. My ma was saying, Michael, I don't want you to lose the rag. I have something to tell you. What's he after doing now? And then she went on to tell him about the programme, what had happened. And my dad shrugged me and he goes, what happened? Tell me. And I couldn't really say a whole lot about the priest, but I went on about the uncle. So he had phoned me nanny's house, got the uncle on the phone and told him he was on the way over the road to him. Because I was terrified. I'm after causing trouble. It's all my fault. You know, I'll never forget that night. Fucking hell. So the uncle moved to England. He had to leave. Subsequently came out that, you know, I wasn't the only one in the families. He was at other kids. So that started my progression into losing my shit, going off my head, being quite rebellious, couldn't concentrate in John's college, no fear of teachers. It's to some degree kind of, I wouldn't say I became a bully, but if anyone came near me, it was the wrong thing for them to do. I never went looking for trouble, but when trouble knocked at my door, I wouldn't let it go. We know them now to be mental breakdowns. I class it now as more emotional. An emotional breakdown where physiological things happen in my body. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. My sleep wasn't great growing up as a child either because, you know, your dad come in, you'd be waiting for him to kick off. Yeah. During the night you got beaten. You're just waiting for that. On edge everywhere. On edge all the time. Yeah, for sure, yeah.
And so after that then, yeah, he moved to England. So went back to school, you went back doing it. To the priest lecture, was the priest out of the sight now?
No, he wasn't out of sight. Me obviously back then, because the uncle had lived in the house and because it's family. The family don't do things like that in families. So what had happened was she latched onto the priest bit. We lived in 82 Tolman Road. I mean, my auntie lived in 72 Tolman Road. Two sisters living 5 doors apart. So the two of them went up to Father Walsh, the house. She knocked at the door and the housekeeper opened the door and said he wasn't there. And they were walking away and my mum says, I remember saying to myself, he never goes anywhere without that car. And when she was walking back, she copped the curtain was moving. So she knocked on the door and she says, if you don't get him out now, I'm going to get the police. And my ma, I'll never forget the way my ma said it. My ma said he opened the door. He says, I don't mind one of you coming for me, but two of you. So he knew at that stage, 1984, he was in trouble. I already had been getting quite violent with myself, punching myself, biting myself. I didn't know how to self-harm. That was self-harm. Yeah. Choking myself with toys, trying to stop me circulation. Crazy stuff was happening. So I ended up going for therapy up in Ballyferma. There was a dispensary, a health board dispensary. They dealt with doctors and teeth and stuff like that. And just there's a branch off it now. It's actually a pharmacy now. It's still there. The health centre was actually it's a funeral parlour, and part of it is a coffee shop because I was only there this morning, and the other part is a chemist, and that was a psychiatric unit. And I remember being brought in there and questioned. I remember being a small room, table, chairs, toys everywhere, but there was a big mirror, and we were yapping about what did or didn't happen. I was quite alert to what was going on in the room. I asked, could I have a cigarette? And she said no. I said, why not? The fella behind the screen is having a cigarette. And she goes, how do you know? I said, because there's a gap in the glass going around. And I can see the light from the video surveillance, and I could see the cigarette. So we knew he was smoking. Mm-hmm. So they allowed me to smoke. She handed me a doll and asked me to show her what was happening. Yeah. And I said to her, you want me to stick me willy in the doll's bum? I said, why would you want me to do that? And she was like, what? So she couldn't handle my language. Yeah. And I said, why don't you just ask me what happened? It's easier. So when she asked me, I got into it, but I left out the implements. Half purposely, and kind of, I was half praying that he would ask me, did anything else happen? Did he do anything else that would help me release this? But I was just too ashamed. I think I'd let enough out. Yeah. Everyone in the room was crying. The therapist was crying. Yeah. Isn't that good when the therapist is wiping their own eyes? Yeah. Absolutely. And I'm looking at them going, the fuck are you crying for? It's grand. Yeah.
And what you're telling them is only tip of the iceberg as well.
Oh, it was nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. Nothing compared to what had happened. Yeah. So to answer your question, as I said, that was the stop point. It stopped straight away. My mum was part of a group, a women's group in ironically, in the class where I started when I was 4, Sister Margaret was on, cookery, knitting, talks and stuff like that, self-help group, Grow. It was called Grow. And my mum reported it to her, and she said, have I got permission to report it to the Archbishop? And she said, yeah. We're still waiting for the Archbishop to contact us.
Still.
Yeah, it wasn't reported. Yeah. She probably did say something, but she would have been told to keep quiet.
Keep your mouth, yeah. And like, when did the shit really hit the fan for the priest then?
From what I perceive it to be, I wasn't aware of all the other stuff that was going on in the background. So there was some TV scandal in Ballyfermot, ironically in St Michael's, where I started school. It's very synchronistic. Everything is synchronistic to our schools. Yeah. There was a lady. Her name was Angela Copley. She lived in Ballyfermot at the back of that dispensary. Where I told me was. And I remember looking at the thing on the telly and Father Walsh, I got blinded by what it was about. So the next day I went up to the school, and ironically where I would have went in as a child, this Sister Bridget used to have her class there, and that was a special class. And I remember saying, is Angela Copley here? Is Angela Copley? I was really, really hyped out to get everything out. And she came out and she goes, how are you? How's it going? She's a lovely woman, really warm face, very warm. And do you smoke? Do you want a cigarette? I mean, the cigarette. And have you eaten today? And I was like, no. Come on in. She brought me into the classroom for something to eat. It was turned into a cafeteria. That was my class.
Jesus, where it started.
Yeah.
That was my classroom with something to eat. And I told her, she goes, we've a group tonight. Other people that have been abused. So that would have been 89, 90. That would have happened. It was Tuesday night. I turned up. There was loads of lads around the table. I had a good discussion with her, and I told her to some level. I didn't go into quite graphic detail as to what had happened.
And now here's a word from our sponsor.
Guys, we have something new and exciting for all of you taxi goers, taxi drivers in Ireland. Coming soon to the App Store is Easy Taxi. Easy Taxi are going to revolutionise the taxi space. So anyone that's been caught rotten with, another taxi app that's been finding drivers, it drops off, there's no signal. There's none of that BS with Easy Taxi. So you need to keep your eyes peeled. It's coming very, very soon to an app store near you.
Yeah, man. I've been excited about this, you know what I mean? This app is dropping very, very shortly, guys, on all platforms. So, guys, Easy Taxi is for you. You know why? You could be stuck at a session. You'll be trying to go home to your missus before she wakes up. Now, the good thing about Easy Taxi is you could be a session boy or a session lad. They don't judge you. Just get in, get to your destination, and get out. That's how easy it is, man. It's mad.
Yeah.
Easy Taxi is for you guys. You know what I'm saying? But another thing I was going to say to you is, if you get caught slipping, Easy Taxi.
It's just that easy.
Very easy.
Hey lads, the taxi's outside.
Easy Taxi.
Just that easy.
Just that easy.
And I remember there was a gang of them around the table, mostly men, boys, and one girl. And they were all reading the story in the newspaper because he was getting a lot of publicity then. Back then, the Lefoy Commission had been instructed to look into this clerical sexual abuse. So I remember they were telling their stories coming around, and I was at the top table. I remember looking down at her going, she goes, what's wrong with you? I goes, come here. And she came up and I goes, I can't tell them what happened to me. And she goes, what do you mean? They were abused. She goes, yeah, but none of them were raped. And she goes, yeah, that's why you have to tell them, because maybe they were, and then, and here I was, and it was kind of, I had a sharp window of deciding, and I said, well, what are you reading in the paper for, oh, this happened, but that's about you, do you not believe it happened to you? And I identify to some degree, because sometimes even listening to it now, any stories on me, I'm like, fuck man, that happened to me.
Yeah, to see it in black and white is mad.
Man, look what they've done to me. It really is. Even today, as a grown man, it's like a kick in the face. You're like, fuck, this happened to you. So when I got to telling the story, again, I was very sheepish as to speak. And they were all like, fucking hell, Darren, thank fuck it wasn't, I'm glad it wasn't me. Oh, I don't mean it that way. And I goes, no, he says, and then we started to gel, because how he had got into their homes and into their beds. Like, this man was allowed to sleep with the kids while the man, dad, went to the pictures or down to the pub. And sleep with a child. And I'm sitting there going, he slept in your bed. Yeah. For the night, like. Yeah. Fuck. Jeez. Yeah, but he didn't rape me. I don't give a fuck. Like, he was interfering with you all the time. Yeah. And I'm sitting there going, wow. Man, like, I hadn't even got a language for them.
Yeah.
What, like...
What do you say to that? Like,
what do you say?
Yeah.
But they were trying to quantify it against mine. I was like, man, I only got a cock up the arse and a 7-Up bottle and a crucifix and a candle and fingers and all that. But like, he was in your bed. Yeah, but Darren, that was worse than yours. And I'm like, oh man, I can't handle this.
yeah.
I can handle my stuff, but that's like... So as the stories went on, we were given contributions to the Lefoy commissions. Lefoy commission me arse. There were 4 different pages in the questions, phrased differently, but the same question for somebody's agenda. But I answered them all, and I gave to the judge. We were brought in separately to give our piece. Some of them couldn't do it. There was a lot that couldn't do it. I remember giving it, and I had to be stopped a few. I just kept vomiting every time. I just kept vomiting. And they tried to stop it. I said, no, you're not stopping it. I'm saying it. I need to get this out. So, back then, yeah, things got worse. The self-harm got worse. Suicide came in. Alcohol came in. Because of the beatings and the rapes and the bullying and everything else that you can imagine would happen to a child at that age, somebody would say, like, you must have said something. Yeah, I did. The trees. I spoke. The trees and the bushes in the Phoenix Park could talk. Yeah. I cried a lot. I remember saying I started crying when I was 7 and I stopped when I was 21.
Yeah.
It's a long time to cry. But I used to suffer with laryngitis, where it's like a sore throat, but your voice would get deeper all the time and you were constantly agitated. So I was constantly on benzos, cough bottles.
Right.
So I was addicted to the flavour of them.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that it was numbing me out.
Yeah.
So even at an early age, I was on them. So I suppose that had, thank God, if you want to call it that, it contributed to me not feeling, the zoning out. And ironically, before and after, I used to take a cough bottle, but I could never know. I never knew why.
Yeah.
I would do that.
Yeah.
So subconsciously, that would happen. So I remember my mum used to go to these back then, all the parents, the women, there used to be a joke, you know, your mum sleeps with Prince Valium. So Valium was the prescribed drug. Remember, the church told the parents, the mothers, you've not to leave your husband. You know, no contraceptive, lie down, whatever happens, happens. And there were kids mass produced. A mass production of children for the priest's satisfaction.
Yeah,
you know, priest, P-R-I-E-S-T, paedophile resident in every small town. They were manufacturing the children, for fuck's sakes. You know, get your hiding off your husband. Come and confess it to God. We'll have him forgiven. But go to your doctor. He'll give you a few tabs and shut up.
Just get on.
Get over it.
Yeah.
That was the way it was back then. You know, there's not a religion that I'm aware of on the planet that I've come across. I've researched a few, as you do. You want to see, you know, is a JC that this is all in, but you know, you're looking for an explanation and answer as to why this would happen to a child, and you go into the politics of religion, because there are politics in religion.
Absolutely.
Back then, it's not all about, you know, Jesus of Nazareth and fucking all the curing and the healing, because when you're getting a 7-Up bottle rammed up your arse, Jesus was never around. No. He was not around.
Far from it.
Yeah. So at a very early age, I was looking at the different religions. Why are they allowed to marry? Why have they got kids? Why do they always seem to be family orientated on telly? They projected love. Why the priests not allowed marry? And then you're looking back through the history of religion, and they were allowed marry. Priests originally were allowed marry, but when it came into when a priest dies, whatever money they owned and property they owned went to the wife, and that's where it's a conflict of interest. The church were losing their wealth to the spouses and shared children. So that's where it came in. So the children became the sacrifices. The Lamb of God is the child.
Literally, yeah.
It is the thing.
Yeah.
So it all stopped. As I said, I went down the suicide route, jumping off train bridges. I was quite extreme in my suicide attempts. Canals, overdoses with tablets, mad stuff. Taking 20 and 30 Dalman. And bottles of whiskey to just zone out.
Yeah. And like, so when all that started hitting the fan then, and like the priests start getting recognised for all the damage that he's done, and all the kids are starting to speak out, you're in that council group with your own. So when did you start seeing court? Like, when did you start seeing court and going towards of getting that piece done? Like,
in 19, I suppose 89, 90. She had said to me, Darren, you need to go legal with this. You need to get litigation. I didn't understand litigation and what any of that meant. Court? No, I'm not going to court with this. I'm happy with the group. Let's leave it with the group. No problem. And you're part of the newspapers and the TV. You can tell everyone what happened to me. So even to go public, it was never a no, a yes. That was never happening. I had to protect my family. Even speaking about stuff that had happened that led to this, with this dysfunction in the family, that can be a bit embarrassing. But you can't lead something like this without giving them an idea that the mother and father were vulnerable. These predators knew how to get into families.
Yeah.
You get me?
Yeah, they
so
groom the families before they groom the kids.
So I remember the legal team saying to me, no, farriers, there's no way you are going to win against the Catholic Church. We can try get you a few quid, is what I was told. If we can get you 4 or 5 grand. Back then, that was a few quid.
Bob, yeah.
So I remember going, no, I don't want the money. So they kept saying, we lose this, we go to court. I says, listen, you just have to put me on the stand. You have to trust me. I'm trusting you, just trust me. But I suppose I had left out of the statements the full severity of what he'd done. And I was afraid to add that in case they went, well, you can fuck right off with that. Yeah. Definitely not going in with that one. So I took a stand on it and I said, no, I'm not about the money. And I came to an agreement with myself that even if I got to court with it, if I got to a statement, I'd be happy. If I got to DPP, that'd be great. If I got accepted, that'd be amazing. If I got to court, that would be terrific. The outcome was never the long goal. Because it was, for me, when stuff like this happens, it really isn't about time, because there's no time that would justify what you done. No. Or to condone it with a sentence, nor any money. So, whether you got locked up for an hour, a minute or a day, I just wanted somebody of stature to hear my story. Yeah. And that was the catalyst. And every time I broke a barrier, heard back from the guards, I'd taken the statement. And then, did. And I remember giving the first statement, and as I was getting comfortable into the statement in Kilmainham, man, the fucking room filled with coppers. It must have been 20 coppers in the room. I was sitting there going, what the fuck? So I didn't get to tell the full story. Of course, when I got to DPP, they wouldn't prosecute. And I went, fuck, I didn't tell the truth. True. Not that I didn't tell the truth. I didn't tell the full story. So this had happened, and then I got strong enough, went to Coolmine. I had a drug addiction problem. So I had went from Valium to E to everything else. And then I ended up on heroin.
Jesus.
So I ended up, it was time to get well, Darren. I remember going into Coolmine, getting myself together, giving a statement before I went in. I signed up for a day program and weekends in Coolmine. And it was weird when I got to Coolmine and I realised why I was on drugs. And that I didn't realise I had a drug problem. I just realised that the drug wasn't enough to stop me hurt myself anymore. Yeah. And had they got anything else? And they were like, no, there is nothing else. And then I was like, how did I end up on all these drugs? And then when I realised it was because of what had happened, they said, you know, you need to deal with this. I goes, grand, so I'll just give up the drugs and I'll just deal with this. And they all laughed at me. They said, that's not going to happen. I says, I'm telling you, it is going to happen. That's exactly how it's going to happen. I'm not going to take any drugs. I don't want any fight. I'm coming off it, and that's what I'm going to do. And that was my catalyst to me methadone.
Yeah.
Was to pick up for the child. So when the Lefoy Commission came on, 99, we kept pushing forward. He kept getting heard. They kept locking him up. They kept rolling sentence after sentence on him. And then it progressed onto my trial in 2010. It took a long time. It took me 17 years to fight this man.
Yeah.
17 years. 22 court appearances. Jesus. And that's not including the trial. The trial was a walk in the park. But we had to allow him every opportunity for the statute of limitations to be exceeded, the excuses to get rid of a judicial review, the time it takes. He exhausted everything. In the end, and that's what I work with today. I exhaust things until the negative energy is gone, and then I can address it with what I'm doing. Yeah.
Dan, I appreciate you coming in and sharing that with us. Now, what I want to do is, because we're running out of time, so I just want to get your point of views on. So, for example, what did he get for that?
So yeah, on that particular court case, everything was thrown at him. I was allowed to speak about the minimum 3 times, so multiply the age 7 to 12. 3 times a week over that amount of years. So I held quite a lot. The judge did instruct the jury that they could find him guilty of molestation and not rape. But they could not find him guilty of rape and not molestation, because you have to molest somebody or touch them up in some fashion to rape him. So there was 16 sample charges, excluding everything else that they homed in on. So because of the type of rapes and different years, they held different sentences. So I knew it was on the eve of the Murphy report that was being published. And that was on the back of the Ryan report, that was on the back of the Lefoy commissions. So they wanted to get this investigation over because it was costing a lot of money. He'd been named in it, but he was named as Father Jovita, Section 19A and Section 19B, to protect in case there was a leak. So it wouldn't have been down as Father Walsh. So he got, ironically, the Irish Times reported on a Patsy McGarry. He was the religious correspondent and still is at the time. So since the foundation of the Irish state, there's never, for whatever crime, any crime, there's never been this sentence handed down. So he got to run concurrently 123 years.
Yeah.
So in order to make that stick, they had to stick it to a rape. So on the day that serious rape, as if no rape is, it was the most serious. So he was kidnapped, tied up, raped, stopped, and then re-entered and raped again. That held a 16-year sentence. Now a psychiatrist got up and spoke eloquently of what he wouldn't be capable of doing, and that he wouldn't be any capable of doing any more than what he's already done, as if that wasn't horrendous.
Yeah.
A psychiatrist to say something like that.
Yeah.
So he got 4 years taken off. Now I understand why that led no option for appeal. So he got a 12-year sentence. But every year since 2010, I have been an advocate to get more people to come forward to release the trauma and release the shame and the guilt that doesn't belong to them.
Yeah.
So he's still in prison and he won't get out. We're on 2023 now. You're looking at about 2027, and today there's another 9 cases against him, and I have another 4 people there that will make, when they're strong enough and when they're ready, will make statements against him, and I predict the man will not see the light of day ever again.
I hope he rots in there, man.
I hope he does, yeah.
I hope he rots in there, and that's
I wish
being
the
dead
absolute worst for him,
straight. Like some human being cannot be like.
But he's not a human being. That's a demonic entity in him.
Like, you know,
that's no insult to human beings.
Yeah.
And it's no insult to the soul that inhabits that body.
No.
That soul has been taken. The soul may be still present around that body, but there's demonic entities in that. I mean, a man, and he would stand up in front of any judge, and whether you want to call it arrogance or ignorance or ego, he does not know what he has done is wrong. If you're in a relationship with a female, he will see you as sick. But what he sees as him doing to children, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And what is your problem?
Zero remorse.
He will. No, I wouldn't even go as far as remorse. Remorse would suggest that you're aware of something. This man is not an awareness of anything. So for that reason alone, he should never be allowed on the street. Never. He has never engaged in the services to get healing, to acknowledge, to reach out to his to people that he's abused, to even any hint of sorry. Nothing.
And like, come to say that, I truly appreciate you coming in. And from now as well, I know you're working with a lot of people. You're working to help people with healing and everything. So do you want to explain, just try and lay a bit of light onto that first and see what you're at now and where you're going with it.
I work alongside, I had a good advocate for getting well. His name was Professor Ivor Brown. Ivor Brown, ironically, was set it up, first of all, psychiatry in Ballyfermot back in the 60s. Ironically, in the same place where I admitted where something went wrong. So me and Ivor missed each other. He also was the head physician at St. Loman's Hospital. So when my suicide started getting more serious, that's where I was institutionalised. I missed him by a few years. I was introduced to him by Mick Pilo of RTE and Mary Raftery, God she died. So Ivor's been in my life since 2008. He's been a great advocate for me to go to school. He's paid for a lot of my learnings, my educations, my knowings. And he introduced me to Martin Duffy, who runs Shamanism Ireland. People do think it's a cult. I thought I was in the beginning myself. These people are just airy-fairy, but they spoke honestly. They spoke of love. They spoke of truth. And they rekindled something that I always believed in myself, the truth, speaking your truth, and not to have any fear whatsoever. So since 2008, I've been on many educational programs around this. I've done the whole program of shamanism, advanced practitioner, transpersonal therapist. I've went on through AWARE, all the modalities, that CBT, DBT, any disorders that are out there. I've been taught by Ivor Brown, personally educated by him on all these disorders, all these addictions. I've done addiction studies as well. So anything that can affect societal issues, and that has happened to me as a human being, I wouldn't say I've mastered them. I'll master them on my last breath and come back again. But I have, as Ivor would say, as the Chief Psychiatrist of Ireland, I am an authority on any trauma that can hit a human body. Anything that can happen in a body has happened to me. Mental, emotional, physical, psychological or sexual has happened. So I would be an authority. So I had given testimony to the Lefoy Commission, the Ryan reports, the Murphy reports. Also 2019, the clerical sexual abuse hit the Vatican. I rocked the Vatican. They're terrified of me. I have a great rapport.
Yeah, that's mad, because I know you went to the Pope, didn't you?
Yeah, we were meant to meet the Pope, but I'd asked to give a speech with Vincent Brown in Juries, or the Gresham Hotel. 104 was there. I'd only done a show with them. Adrian Kennedy was there, and I couldn't understand why did they want me here? And there was politicians and the questions, and I know it was about the money end of things, about the church paying their part. The government as well has set a deal with the church, so the taxpayer of Ireland are, for the one, as far as I'm concerned, they're accessories to paedophilia, because it's their money that's paying off. The church has still not paid their agreed fee. They're the second richest and biggest organisation on the planet, and now we're asked to sign cases ex gratia. I think I gave you the paperwork on it to silence people. That's what the government are saying is, sign this, you'll get up to 84 grand, but we're not admitting we've done anything. So it's taking them out of the blame of institutional abuse as well, when they're up to their neck in it with the religious orders, De La Salle brothers. So my part in this was to protect these vulnerable souls, firstly from the money aspect of it, that money isn't going to cure you. The psychiatric end of things, to get them well in themselves. Again, a lot of these people that come through society are damned through addiction. Ballyfermot is cursed with heroin, cocaine, barbiturates, alcoholism. And this is endemic. It's systematic. It's through religious orders. At the moment, I'm working with people that are coming from the army, the Curragh camp, that have been abused on the Curragh camp. There's big stuff going on at the moment with the Curragh camp and army personnel, male and female, being abused. Children in foster homes. There's stuff now coming out about people in institutions, foster homes. Tulsa are starting to get the highlight put on them. It's like these places are breeding grounds for paedophiles. They know where to shop for vulnerable children to abuse them. So
They seem to be places that are safe spots.
They're meant to be safe.
spots.
Yeah. I can actually understand why people live on the streets, because they're safe on the streets. I spoke to people that are homeless, a lot of people, and the same story runs through it. Incest at home, sexual abuse by Christian brothers, abuse, rape. It seems I never hear anything from the age of 4 going up to 7 where people are being abused by school teachers. Never hear any of that. And I'm around this since what? Jesus Christ, what am I now? 1988, 89 with this. And we're on 2023. I don't hear about Ian Paisley. I don't hear about any other religion, whether it's from Western society, Islam. I do not hear of these abuses and atrocities to these people. It's only within the Roman Catholic Church and the Vatican See.
Yeah.
I mean, the Pope himself, Portugal last week, he sent some people over to sort it all out. And if the Pope had listened to me when the papal nuncio came over with the Archbishop from the north and the south, and we had a meeting to deal with this, and we were given questions to ask, I answered them. I told them exactly how to deal with this, how to resolve this, how to fix this, how to make a start. And now they're only starting to use some of the language. I mean, the last Pope, Ratzinger, sure, he retired. Why? Because I caught him out on a lie. He said he didn't know anything about it until I produced a document that proved that he did, because he's the one that replied to me.
Reply back to you. He sent you back a letter.
I got a reply, and that's why he wasn't sick and he wasn't going blind. It was nothing to do with his brother being unwell. Because I had given the media personnel a document and I had confronted him on it. And because it was a signature and a validated and verified signature by 3 different independent people from different countries to validate his signature, he decided to retire. Popes do not retire.
I never hear of it.
No. Never.
I don't think it's ever happened.
It has in 1 or 2 cases going back years and years ago, 1800s, all that. But Pope Francis was the one that was meant to make this change. He was meant to send out this exercise in 2019 was to get feedback from all the communities. It was half-arsed.
At best,
The collective was half-arsed, and it was sent back. Who was it sent back by? Archbishops. And they were going to water that down to give it to their superiors to make it palpable for the Pope. That man hasn't half a clue what's going on. There needs to be a different setup. People like me need to go forward. There were people from Ireland that were commission set up to be on the safeguarding committee. There's one in Dublin, the Office of Safeguarding of the Archbishop of Dublin. I've asked several times to be put on it. I'm still waiting a reply. I've asked to be on the one in the Vatican. Mary Collins was sent over. She herself was abused. They sent a woman over to tell a load of men with skirts what to do. So we know that was never going to happen. And because of all the walls she was set with and all the boundaries and what she was or wasn't allowed to say or what the agendas were going to be, she was silenced. What needs to be done is something like this, that these people from different societies and in many cultures and throughout the world, they need to be set up on a global scale where these conversations can be had. And then these recordings can be sent on to the commission of the people that are causing these problems, and let them then use it as a catalyst to put proper safeguarding issues and to address the problems on how to deal with, not politicians. I don't want some guy telling me how he's going to deal with implementing a safeguard issue.
She hasn't the first clue about what you've been
You don't even know how to tie your laces. You're wearing loafers. Get over yourself already. Do you get me? They need to bring people like us in, Mary Collins, the likes of people that are dealing with this, people from institutions, mother and baby homes, that know how to make this thing stop, highlight it Name the shame, and then maybe we won't be talking about it all the time.
Yeah.
Like, it's going back now. What are we? Jeez, we must be nearly 6 decades deep in this.
Yeah,
And that's only so far. We're not finished yet. They will have to give up the disclosures on what they know. And I won't stop till it's done. There's no sure thing. No. This is not going away.
Yeah, it's just
and now the other institutions being looked into, Tussle, De La Salle Brothers, the nuns. These redress board schemes with the governments, they need to stop now. Everybody needs to be addressed on their own merit for the abuse they went through, not on a collective. And there should be legal teams out there. I think the Irish system are just as guilty and are toxified up to their necks. And they're in the same bed as, I do not trust any barrister now. We need to take people in from Canada and America. We need to take people in from Northern Ireland that have not been toxified by these people to fight for people like us and not to be afraid of our judicial system, because nothing's going to happen to them.
Yeah, 100%.
And to fight for these people and to fight for them not so much as a group. Yeah, as a group, there's voice and numbers, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But to see this person as you see me now on this camera, I am not the only one.
Yeah.
There are hundreds of thousands like me in different countries. I speak to them all the time. Canada, that's being silenced, that can't open their mouth about babies going missing. A baby goes missing and what, you can't open your mouth? Yeah. These podcasts need to be shared, and for somebody like yourselves to be the catalyst for it and to share this information and to flood the market. Yeah. I mean, the media's being flooded with what they want us to be conformed to believe, and nothing other than the truth. They're naming what the truth should be. Everything I've told you is the truth. It's easily checked. I have no need to lie, and neither have the victims.
Yeah.
So let the truth be the catalyst for their healing, and let them be heard by the masses. There isn't one, and I mean this, that I've come across since 1984, 85. There is not one family that I'm aware of in Irish society that has not been affected by clerical sexual abuse, institutional abuse of any degree or sort, or incest, to include molestation and or rape by 2 minors and or vulnerable children and adults. And that's to say people that had disabilities that couldn't speak out, especially Africa. So where did they send people that were the priests? They sent them to Africa to abuse children that were sick, that hadn't got a language to use to say they're being abused.
Yeah.
And now you just hear little snippets from the Pope want to be making a bigger racket about this. There needs to be more voices and there needs to be more people on. I mean, they can cure cancer tomorrow, the church. They're still paedophiles and rapists.
Yeah.
Yeah, no matter what they do at this point, what's been done has been done.
It's been done.
To such an extent as well that it's not forgivable.
It's not forgivable, but it's understandable to the point that they want to help in the healing process.
Yeah.
They have to be seen to help and take on board the measures from people like us that have been stuck at truth. The church don't pay me.
No.
When victims come to me, when people ring me and they're suicidal and they're going off their head, when mothers don't know what to do with their children, when they're stuck on medications that have them suppressed and they're committing suicide all over the place, I pick up the phone. A psychologist won't do that. Yeah. They'll put you into PA the house. PA the house, you'd want to go in there with your veins cut before you're given your A sessions. And again, it's government run. Yeah. Government funded.
Back the same.
I'm not detracting from the work that they're doing. That it's all well and their hands are tied with the amount of treatment they can get. But surely there has to be somebody that can say this guy needs more than 8.
100%.
Like I have a guy at the moment, he's up in the north. I was speaking to him this morning. Walsh got done for him. He's on his probably 2 years of therapy. He's still coming through his progression with drugs. The guy is screaming at me, can you get me more sessions? And I will make that call when I leave here today.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming in. And yeah, man, that's been deep. But if anyone's going through anything at all, where would be the best place to find you if they want to try and reach out to you to speak to you?
Especially what I would say, first of all, any institutional abuse.
Well, that was what I was going to say. If not you, where are the places that are best?
There are loads of places. Contact, as I said, there's lots of groups out there on Facebook and social media that do survivors side by side. Sinead Daily. I don't like to publicly put myself out there, but I am on Facebook, and I can be messaged through Facebook, Darren McGavin. You'll see me page. It'll always be spiritual. I'm contactable through yourselves with a phone number.
100%.
So I would urge anyone that needs, you'll be pointed in the right direction for your healing.
100%.
If you need some support around going to make statements, that will be in it. Only to say, I'm at this since 1988. And you know, it's a passion, and I don't have a price on somebody's well-being. So I would ask somebody to put a value on their well-being. And don't stay in this circus on your own. Don't stay in your own head. There are people that actually care. And once you come on board with people like me, you'll be directed in the right places. And there are loads of us that will validate once you join in. You're in safe hands. You'll be well looked after. You're well got. Yeah. But name the shame that no longer, it doesn't belong to you. You need to let that go and give it back whence it came. Yeah. And again, anger's going to come up, and suicide, and you will be managed with that. Yeah. You'll be sent to all the right places. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in. We truly appreciate you.
You're very welcome, guys.
Pleasure, honestly. Thank you.
Respect and love.
And again, I just want to say thank you to your audience. I know we're kind of constrained by time, and I'm sure this and other institutions may get airtime as well, mother and baby homes, and adoption agency may get a voice through podcasting. Podcasting is the way to go. We went through the media, we went through the circus of the newspapers. They have an agenda, and it's a time constraint. You won't podcasting and networking through all the other institutions in all the other countries, and that's why I chose. You are very empathetic. You are very sympathetic to this cause, and I'm hoping you will be the catalysts for other podcasters to come through to share this, so that other people in other countries are given a voice, and there will be people like me in other countries that they can go to for support.
100%. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
He's made it to the end. Guys, if you're fucking with us and you like exactly what we were doing, everything we talked about, make sure to do what?
Follow, like, share, subscribe, YouTube or Spotify. No matter what you're listening or watching us on, be sure to hit all them buttons and run up them numbers, my guys. Know what I'm saying?
You better.